Hello and welcome to another video of Microsoft Fabric. And in today's video, we would like to discuss how would we do append only the additional data in a fact or in a table in Lakehouse using data pipeline. So the use case here is that I have a table, fact table, where at the source, I'll add certain rows. Now my fact table, let's say initially have 10 rows, it will become 20 rows. Now I only want to add those additional 10 rows. Now you will say, okay, you have the append option in the data pipeline that should help. But will that help, or do we need something additional? Let's go and figure it out. Now to do this, let's jump onto the app.powerbi.com. Now app.powerbi.com is also the Fabric for us. So I have already enabled my trial, and my trial has some pending days. And to do this, I need to have a workspace, which is a Fabric workspace. So I'll go to workspaces on the left hand side here. And in this one, I will go to 01 Fabric, which is my workspace. Your workspace need to have at least one lakehouse and one warehouse. And I'll tell you when you need the warehouse. So first testing, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in data for a table with certain rows. Then we are going to add the table data in that table at the source, and then we'll see what happens on the destination. So if you see in this one, I have few lakehouses and warehouses. So we'll choose one of them while bringing in the data. So let's begin this journey by creating a pipeline. Now, before I do that, let me go to the PostgreSQL where I'm going to do all the sections. So in the PostgreSQL, I have this table where I have 30,000 rows right now. So I'm going to truncate this table. And after truncation, I'll again load the data, which is less than 2019 701. So it loaded 23,876 rows. Let me show you the count also. So these many rows I have. And next time I'm going to append the rest of the rows. I initially have the 30,000 rows. So now I would like to bring this data in. So now to bring this data in, I go to my Fabric workspace and I would say I want to create a new pipeline. And in the new, I have option show all, because directly there's no option here. So I'll use show all. Now once I click on the show all, under the data factory, I have option for data pipeline preview. I click on the option data pipeline preview, and it's saying data pipeline. Okay, so what happens is on my another tab, I have one pipeline open, and this is a very recent feature where you can't open multiple pipelines. So let me go ahead on my another tab and let me close in the pipelines. So I've closed my pipelines. Click on data pipeline preview, and it is asking for a pipeline name, and the pipeline name which I'm going to give is copy append. Okay, copy space append. I'm giving the name. Now what we need to do here is we need to bring in the data from a Postgres source, add a copy activity. So I will add a copy activity. Let me add a copy activity. And in this copy activity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the PostgreSQL. And if you want, you can search also, and there was a search box, and I'll say next. Now I will try to use existing connection which I had. Now what kind of information does it ask? Let's check that out. So it's going to ask server name, database name, and basic authentication username and password, which you can provide. I'm going to use the existing connection, and I'm going to say next. Once I do that, it might take a little bit of time, and it will show you existing tables. So, or use query. Now this is the use query option, is something which we'll use later. Now in this run, we need to use one table, and what I'm going to do is, let me bring that table name, because we need to search that once the entire stuff is loaded. So we need this table actually. So we'll search this. We got this table. We'll say okay, this, and let's say next. What is the destination? Destination is a lakehouse. So we select a lakehouse. We say next. In the lakehouse, let's select lake 02 or destination dest lake. Okay, we select one of them, dest one lake. We say next. Table name, I'm going to put the table name is sales underscore pg1 postgres 1, and I'm saying append. Append means next time you append the data. Okay, I'm not saying overwrite. So I want the next time the data to be appended. I'll say next. I'll say okay, no, I don't want to do this step. I'll say okay, so that I can review my source. So this is my source, and this is my destination, and I'll want to add a mapping. So I'm adding a mapping here, and once the mapping is there, then we'll see the column names. And once the column name appears, if you want to change something, data type, will do it. Now, this is the problem I also faced in the past. The numeric data type is something which is not have an equivalent here. So that's why it is shown as string. So what I've done is I've actually later on able to, create a view here and convert that into the numeric, or when I do some operation, I'll easily able to convert that into a number and use it. So fine, we'll keep it here. There's no way to change it here while going to destination. So we'll keep this like this, and this seems fine to me. So what I'm going to do here is basically, I'm going to say save, validate. 3 options you have to do: save, validate, and run. And I'm going to run that. Now once this pipeline run, I need to go ahead and test it. So why don't I do it while this pipeline is loading? I'll open another tab, and in another tab, let me go back to the workspace 01 Fabric, and Dest1 Lakehouse we wanted to go. So let's scroll down, and Dest1 Lake, and I'm going to go to directly SQL endpoint. I just wanted to see what's there coming there. Now it's already completed. Here I came on the other tab, and in this tab it's already completed. So let the SQL endpoint load, and if we see the table sales underscore PG, okay, the table has finally come. It was refreshing, the data has come. Now right click, new, select top 100 rows. I'm actually not interested in top 100 rows. I'm just wanting to do a count star. So let me do a count star and let me run it. 23,000 rows. Fine. Now what we are going to need to do again is we will go to our pipeline, and we want to run this pipeline again. So what I'm saying, run this pipeline. Now when I run this pipeline, it will run. Now I have not added any data at my source. Remember this thing. I'm just running this pipeline without adding any additional data. Ideally speaking, because there's no new data, I'm expecting nothing should get added, isn't it? Okay, so let's go ahead and test it out. No, it's getting doubled up. It means whether the data is there or not, it's going to bring in the data. So there is no question of bringing new data here. The data itself is getting added the moment I run. So I don't want this behavior. I actually want the true append behavior. Whatever data has been loaded, it should not load again. And please remember, this is a use case where we are assuming that the data which we are loading is always going to be more than what I've loaded. So preferably you need to have a created date with the timestamp. And let's say if I load it till X date and time, I will only have data after that. There is no previous data which can be there. So based on the created date, whatever I have been loaded with the date and timestamp, I will only have the new data. That's what the use case we wanted to consider here. So now let's begin the journey. So now we know this is not going to work out. So we are going to do a little bit different approach. Now to do this approach, I actually need a table here, and I need an empty table to start that journey. So what I'm going to do here is I will go in the PG admin and I'll truncate this table. So I have now, there is no row here. Now because there is no row here, I can come back here, and what I'll do, I'll use this copy operation only. Everything is all set up, but I'll go and change the table name to PG2. So now the PG2 is the table which is going to be created. If I run this, and because I don't have any data, I'm expecting no data will get loaded, and I'll say save and run. Now once I do this save and run, and this run is successful, what I'm expecting is I'm expecting a new table will be created by pipeline having no data. Okay, so a new table would be created by pipeline having no data. That's what the expectation is. So this new table is something where I have the structure, but I don't have any data, because I want to create a pipeline which will continue to add the data, get new. Okay, so there is nothing new here. No data is there. So let's query this table PG2 here now. Instead of refreshing, I'm just coming here and just typing that PG2, and let's see what all data we have. I don't have any data now. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to close this pipeline, because we can't open two pipelines. So I'll go and close this pipeline, and I'll go again and I'll say new, show all data pipeline, and I'm going to say copy, append, new. This is my pipeline, create. Now what I need to do here is, first of all, I'll add a pipeline activity, and the pipeline activity I'm going to do here is the lookup. Okay, so we have lookup here. Now what I'm going to do here in the lookup is basically first of all I'm going to change the name here, and the name I'm going to give it is a last date. Then I'm going to go to the settings and I go to workspace. Now in the workspace I don't have a lakehouse option. Okay, I don't have a lakehouse option, so I'm choosing data warehouse, and that's why I say you need to have data warehouse. I can choose any data warehouse whatever I like in this workspace, and I'm going to say query. In the query, now I need the help from that table, so go here and say select top 100 rows. So what I'm going to do here is I'll try to find out the max of this date, isn't it? The max of sales date. Now there is no data, so I'm expecting a blank or null value. So max of sales date is something which I wanted to do. So this is going to return empty stuff. Now I don't want empty stuff, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this query a little bit. So I'm going to say Colias and 2018-01-01. That's where my data starts. Before that I don't have any data, and I'm going to give this a column name also. So if there is no data, I'm going to get something. So I'm ensuring if there is no data, let's get something. Now I go to this activity and I put this query. Okay, so I'm giving I'm giving the complete name. So I'm hoping that even though I'm using a data warehouse as a source, it should give me this query. And to validate that, save, validate, and run. So what we expect here is once this activity run, this is going to give a data which is actually a date. So let's see, view history, not started. Close. Okay, succeeded. So now we are getting a date. So now this step is correct. Now next step is I will convert this into a variable. So let me add another activity. I add an activity which is set variable. I say when this is success, set a variable, and what variable I'm going to set here is basically I'm going to say max date is my variable. And I'll tell you the code I'm going to write down. So I go to setting here and I'm going to say max underscore date confirm, and when I go here I'll say add dynamic content. Here what you need to do is you need to say @ activity last date. This is something you need, but it requires a little bit of modification. So I'll give you the complete code. So last date in the single quote, output first row max date. This is what you need. So you got, now this will be known as max date, variable max date. Now what you need to do is you need to create a next activity. Now this is going to be an important activity. Now, so we got the variable name is max date. Now I'm going to add a next step, which is basically copy data, add to canvas. I'm not using the wizard, I'm using this one. So copy data, you have the option copy assistant. I'm not using the assistant. So source. Now what is the source? Source is external, and in the external I need to find out my this one. So test pg admin Amit, that's what I'm going to use. Connection is Postgres type, and here I'm going to say query, and this query I have already written. Now this is very important here, this variable @ variable, and look, max has been given in single quote, and this entire @ variable code itself is been given in the single quote. And that is how it's going to work. So just have a look at this code. This is what you need to do. So now what the next, as a next step, what I need to do is I need to say preview data. So let me do preview. So for preview, it's going to ask me a date, and right now I'm going to give 2018-01-01. It will ask for preview. It will even ask when we do the mapping, and both the times we have to wait that it generates the correct output. Right now we don't have any data, so no data would be there, but at least preview has happened. Now we go to the destination. Now the destination is Lakehouse and dest1 lake, and let it load the tables. pg2 is the table. If you want to change the table, you can say edit. Now let's generate mapping, import mapping. Again, it's going to ask for a date and is giving the number. Let's have that. So all our columns should match. If it is not matching, then we have to manually match those things. Now remember, there is some other pipeline which has loaded this table initially, the blank table. And while it is doing, so you can see this pg2 table in the Dubio schema don't have any data. Now the schema also seems fine to me. Settings. So this seems correct to me. Now only thing is, let me load some data. Now it was blank table. Let me run the count star here again. Now there is no rows. Let me insert some data here. 23,876 rows I loaded. Now let me save these things. So it's saving, validated, and let me run this. Now it's running right now. As you can see on the top, it is going to show you. It was showing here. Now after that, the activities will start coming down here. When you have multiple activities, sometimes what happens, it takes a little bit of time here to start showcasing. And what you can do is you can actually go ahead and check. You can see that it is not started here. Now it has started already. Couple of steps has been completed, and we will be able to see some output out here. And the last step is in progress. You can check out the outputs which is coming out from each step. Now once this copy step is completed, I am expected to see some 23,000 odd rows if everything goes fine. As expected, everything went fine. I go here and I'll run the count star on this table. 23,876, that's the number we also have on the PG admin. Now what we are going to do is we are going to append new data. This time I'm not waiting for to run it again, and so what I'm thinking is my code is correct and I should get now 30,000. So if I run now, I'm expecting only those 6,000 odd rows will be added and I'll get 30,000 rows. So I go to my pipeline again without doing any change. I say run. Again, it's getting queued up and I'm expecting the first step, the last state should give me a bigger date. Now this is little bit risky stuff here. If you have a bigger table, what you end up doing here is that you're going to query that real big table to get the date. But I just want to showcase you the capabilities. I'm not saying this is the best way. We still can have the table approach where we can have this table inside the data warehouse or somewhere we can use the SQL and can update it. All those things we can finalize based on what kind of data we have, what approach we wanted to follow. But I wanted to show that how only using pipeline with the minimalistic addition of code or minimalistic steps, how can you get the data appended. So now all the steps are completed. The thing which we have to check here is basically we have 30,000 rows. Now to check, this is going to bring nothing else. I would like to run this pipeline once more. And in today's video, I'm not going to show you the Power BI part of it, which I always go ahead and showcase using end-to-end flow. I think I've shown that sufficient time in my older videos. So please go ahead and watch those videos, how we model our data set and how we see things in Power BI, which is completely on service. So end-to-end stuff happens in service. And as you can see, while I was talking, the pipeline is complete, and I'm not expecting any change here. I'm still expecting 30,000 rows. So the pipeline is working perfectly fine with Append. We have used Lakehouse and pipeline. Just for the sake of reference, we have used warehouse. With this minimal amount of steps, we are able to append data only new data. Now the source previously had some X amount of rows. Now the source has X plus Y number of rows, and we got only Y. When we did not add it, and by mistake we ran the pipeline again, or we knowingly ran it again, it did not added anything. So there was no Z or there's no delta additional. So it did not loaded any data. So why don't you go ahead and try this out, and do let me know what else you want me to consider in this particular series. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you.